My name is Flor de Lis, and I went to school in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I was bullied in middle school because of my name, and people would just constantly, they couldn't pronounce my name and they couldn't say it, so I started coming up with different ways that they could say it. One of them was Flor, and literally people would just make fun of that and say, oh, I'm stepping on the floor, or people would just call me fertilizer, which is very annoying and frustrating. But you know, I kept on going. I asked them not to call me that, but they still did anyways. And it was very hurtful, and it was really hard for me, you know, to deal with that.
So what did you take away from that experience?
I took away that, you know, I have to be proud of my name no matter what. It's my name. My parents gave it to me, first of all. Second of all, I also took away that it is part of who I am. It is part of my identity, and I'm very proud of that. And there's nothing that they can do, and I've changed it a little so that they can say it, so people just call me Flower now, just so that it can be easier to pronounce.
Well, my story is about disrespect and how I always get made fun of because of my hair color. People call me ginger, which is another word for people with red hair. And it all pretty much started out in high school when, like, my friends used to just yell ginger, like, and told me, like, I have no soul. But I really do have a soul, because I am here. And I know in my high school there was a day called National Kick a Ginger Day. So I got kicked a couple times, but it wasn't anything hard or that hurt me or anything. So that was a bright side, I guess. And people told me that I was like adopted because my parents and my brothers don't have red hair.
And how did that process make you feel, being made fun of as a ginger for your hair color?
It made me upset at first, and then I just learned that people are rude and they just bring others down because they have nothing better to do. So I started making fun of myself for it, so it would show that it didn't bother me at all. And I think that worked out pretty well for my part.
And do you still classify yourself as a ginger? Is it lighthearted, or do you still take offense when people call you that?
I don't take offense when people call me that anymore. Like, I know my coaches call me Ginge, and like I laugh because it's like, I don't know, it's different because none of my coaches ever called me Ginger before in the past. So I feel like that's pretty cool, I guess.
Very good. So you took a negative experience and turned it into a positive one.
Yeah.
My respect story is about my dog Sunday, who is a year and a few months old now. We got him in July, and before we got him, my uncle, who is a construction worker, had been working in a construction site, and he was overhearing a commotion going on. And when he looked over, he had seen that the owner of the dog was abusing him and beating him on the head, and the dog had been chained up. So he went over to the owner to ask him what was going on, and the owner wasn't really calm about it. So he told him that he was going to call pet control or that he was going to take the dog, and the owner was really angry and just told him to take the stupid dog. He didn't want it anymore. So my uncle took him, but because he lives in an apartment, he wasn't able to keep him. He only had 2 weeks, so he knew he wanted a dog, and he called us and he asked us if we wanted him, and of course we said yes. When we got the dog a week later, he told us how the dog stayed out all the time in the sun. He was chained up, he was barely fed, he was really small and skinny, and he had separation anxiety.
What did you learn from that?
I learned that you should treat pets or dogs the same way you would want to be treated.
How's the dog now?
He's good. He's happy, he runs around all the time. He's bigger now, he gained weight. He still has separation anxiety, but we're getting him used to getting away from that because everyone has different like work schedules and school schedules, so we're not always home. He's a very friendly dog. All the neighbors love him. The kids love him. We all love him. He's great now. He's doing good. We're working on it.
My respect story goes back to 2008. It was my freshman year in high school during the Thanksgiving annual football game that we have against our rivals. And the game started off pretty bad. Everybody was yelling at each other. It was already getting kind of violent. And then at the first play of the game, one of our captains runs down the field and he hits one of the other captains that's receiving the ball and he breaks his arm. Now these two have actually known each other and they weren't too fond of each other. But as soon as he broke his arm, he stayed next to him until he got lifted off the field, moved off to the sidelines. And then my friend actually stayed on the sidelines with him for the entire game and didn't even play because he just wanted to make sure that everything was okay and he wasn't too seriously damaged, hurt. So then at the end of the game, both teams actually met at midfield and everybody shook each other's hand and everybody clapped and waved to their parents. And after that ceremony was over, my friend actually brought a rose to midfield and presented it to the other captain's mother and said, Happy Thanksgiving. And then all three of them actually went to the hospital together. So instead of spending Thanksgiving night with his family and just being with his friends and family, he actually spent it in the hospital next to the opposing player in the hospital bed. And it was one of the most memorable things I think I've ever heard, and I'll never forget that moment.
Okay, now what would say you learned from this experience?
I learned that no matter how much different people may be or how you view somebody else, you have to respect them. Because if you don't respect somebody else, then you can't expect to be respected. So respect is a two-way street, and no matter how you may feel about somebody, you just have to respect them.